Hi, welcome to Crime Clueless. We're your hosts. I'm Jenna.
And I'm Laura.
Back in the pod lab.
Yeah. How are you doing?
I'm good. I am enjoying our November.
Yes.
Getting excited for Thanksgiving.
Yes. I can't believe we're already almost to Thanksgiving.
Me either. I feel like this month went really fast.
Yes. All of last month and this month have gone by so fast.
And the rest of the year was like 47 years. And then these two are like flying by.
Always seems to be like that. The first half of the year is so slow and then so fast.
Yeah, I agree. The holidays.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we've had birthday last month and birthday this month and then Christmas and Thanksgiving and Halloween all in between. So just a busy time, but it's fun.
It is fun.
Excited.
I like those things.
Went birthday shopping today.
Fun.
My son, and he didn't want anything. Nothing at the store. He's not into clothes. It's that 13-year-old boy.
Yep.
I was like, do you want a new pair of shoes? Like, no.
That's so different from my nearly 13-year-old girl.
Yeah. It's like the things I want are not here at Target or wherever,
Yep.
It's like they're online.
And
okay.
I don't care about the clothes, Mom.
All of my clothes you bought me before still fit me. That's what he said. Okay.
Which is funny because I know he's grown a lot.
I know. I'm like, your pants are not long enough anymore. You need new pants.
Again, the difference between the preteen boys and the preteen girls.
Yeah.
We have an exact length they have to be right now.
Yeah.
Too long, too short, no good.
He'll come down. I'm like, those pants are way too short. Like, go find something else. That is not something you're wearing to school today.
That's funny.
He's just like, whatever.
How nice is it that we can wear pants, though?
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
Mine have been wearing shorts all week, though.
I'm
in my leggings and hoodie, and they're still in shorts and short sleeves. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm pretending it's colder.
Dad's funny like that, too. It must just be like you and me. I don't know. When I went over to Dad's last time, he said, do you know that it's 80 degrees? I said, it's November, though.
Yes. I want to wear my hoodies.
I want a change of wardrobe just for a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just for a minute. Well, I have a case for you today that needs some eyes on it.
Okay.
I've not heard this one covered before, so maybe for our listeners, it might be new to you too. If it's not, hopefully we were able to find some information that you haven't heard before to make it new and interesting.
If you have heard it, let us know.
Yeah. We leaned heavily on a Vice article that's called The Inside Story of Britain's Most Notorious Cold Case Murder by James McMahon. Also, there's a crime memorial case summary on our victim. We also used a Sky News interview with Lauren Bell, which is the victim's daughter, and all of the other resources you can find on our blog, which we'll link in the show notes, or you can go to crimeclueless.com. Also, before we start, we've been recording episodes for a year.
Did we start a year ago?
We started the end of November last year.
Yay.
Yeah. I want to say this next week is like our 1-year anniversary of recording.
That's awesome.
I know. Crazy, huh?
Yeah. We'll have to do like something on our socials for our 1-year anniversary.
Ooh, good idea. Maybe a giveaway.
Yeah.
I like it. If you want to keep an eye out for that, you can find our socials at Crime Clueless. On Instagram is where we mainly post, and YouTube. If you like Crime Clueless, we want to ask you at the top of the show to give us a rating wherever you're listening. You can on Apple. If you scroll below our episodes, there are the stars, and you can click those. You can leave a review if you're so inclined, but really we would just love
a rating.
Star ratings. Also on Spotify, at the top, there's 3 little dots. You can click on them and just leave a rating. They don't even have the option for a review. You can
subscribe
also
on YouTube.
Yes, that helps us out so much. We're trying to grow that so that we can do more video and more content on there. And also, if you ever listen on Audible, which I've actually really liked using Audible for podcasts lately.
Yeah.
I didn't even realize that they had those. They also have ratings that you can leave on there too.
Yeah.
Usually we bring that up at the end, but I wanted to bring it up early on before we jump into the case. You're thinking about it while you're listening, pull it up, give us a rating. We would be ever so grateful, and it really helps us out on our end, and it's free.
Yeah.
We are so grateful. All right. Should we jump into this case?
Yeah. I'm already intrigued.
Yes. Started a little differently to mix things up, right?
It did, yes.
On a clear summer morning in 1991, routine quickly turned to horror for one London family. On June 6, 1991, 43-year-old businesswoman Penny Bell left her home in Buckinghamshire and vanished. Just a few hours later, her body would be found slumped in the driver's seat of her pale blue Jaguar XJS at a crowded suburban swimming pool car park. So essentially a YMCA type setting that was huge. And we're talking about the morning, during the week, busy, lots of people around. The police discovered that Penny had been stabbed over 50 times.
Oh my gosh.
Right?
Wow.
This was a vicious, frenzied attack. Awful. Nothing was taken from her. There was no sign of sexual assault. From the first reports, the brutal nature of this crime, the lack of a motive, made this one of Britain's most baffling unsolved murders. Let's talk about Penny. Her full name was Ruth Penelope Bell. She was successful and very loved by family and friends. By 1991, she lived in a large home in the, quote, Village of the Stars. I would like to live in a, quote, Village of the Stars. That sounds
Me too.
Lovely.
Maybe one day.
Maybe. This was in Denham, Buckinghamshire, with her husband, whose name was Alistair, and their 2 children. Penny was really successful. She ran a thriving catering and employment agency business, and this home that they were living at the time was undergoing a costly renovation. So in my research, I found different prices for the home that were wildly different. Some said the home was $100,000.
Oh.
Some said $500,000.
Okay.
I'm not sure if that's because a lot of the reporting is in pounds, which is not the same as a euro. And then also you're looking at the difference in 1991 money versus now. I'm not sure.
Okay.
But it was wildly different. The renovation sounds like the entire house because it had been going on for over 6 months.
Okay.
Penny was described by friends and family as happy, really caring. She was described as someone who loved life. And really everyone that the police talked to said she had no enemies. They could not think of somebody that would dislike her. Police could not find an obvious motive for what had happened from talking to friends and family or from the crime scene, which we'll go over more in detail.
That always is so crazy to me.
Yeah.
The random attacks like that.
Mm-hmm.
You always have to wonder the why. And when we don't have an answer, it's so frustrating.
It is, especially when you don't have an answer for years and years and years.
Yeah.
Because this is still unsolved, which is why it needs more eyes on it. Yeah. Penny, a few days before her death, did something she hadn't done before. On June 3rd, she withdrew 8,500 pounds, which, again, the money thing, I checked and double checked. I believe that's close to $37,000, $38,000 in today's dollars.
Okay.
So by doing the conversion and then the inflation.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a huge amount of money. She had withdrew this from her joint bank account. Reporting says that the money came in 50-pound notes that were all tucked in a brown manila envelope. And to this day, nobody knows why she took the money out or where it ended up.
That was going to be my question. Did she still have it with her?
Nope.
They took it?
They don't even know why she took it out of the bank.
Yeah. Did she take it for something and someone attacked her and stole it? Or did something happen before then?
And how did they know she had it?
Yeah. Unless they followed her from the bank.
Yeah, but it was 3 days before.
Oh, so no.
But Again, we did mention she has a pale blue Jaguar, and I'm not sure how common those are.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I've ever seen one.
No, I don't think I have either.
Her family did wonder if this withdrawal from the bank was connected to her murder. As far as I can tell, they don't have answers on that.
Interesting.
June 6th, 1991 started out like any other. In the early morning hours, Penny's husband left the house at 8:30 a.m. for work. He recalled that Penny was in bright and chirpy spirits, which I love that description.
Chirpy. I love that too.
We don't really hear that too often. The house builders or the people working on their home were already there. Penny spoke to them before she left the house. Specifically, she told the people that she was running late. She had an appointment at 9:50 and she was running behind and had to get out of the house. Her husband took the kids to school, so it was just her in the home. And then she's like, oh, I have this appointment, running behind. I'll see you later.
How old were her kids?
She had a son who was born in 1978, so 12 or 13. And she had a daughter, Lauren, who was born in 82.
Okay.
So 9 or 8 at the time.
Okay.
I believe that her son was from a prior relationship. I think she had been with her current husband for about 10 years.
Okay.
When this happened. Alistair, Penny's husband, did tell police that even though Penny had been in a bright, chirpy mood when he left, one small detail stuck out to him. Penny did not wave goodbye from the window as she did every morning. So she'd always stand there, wave, the kids would wave to her.
Yeah.
And he didn't see her. He brushed it off, assuming maybe there's commotion in the kitchen because of the construction.
Yeah.
If nothing had happened to her, I don't think he would have thought about it again.
Yeah.
But when you're racking your brain to find any small detail, that one is one that he mentioned to police later.
Interesting. Maybe she had something on her mind.
Right, exactly.
What kind of appointment was she going to?
Well, we don't know. That is another good question. So we'll talk more about that. That morning at about 9:40. So remember, she said the appointment was at 9:50. She left the house at 9:40. So we have to assume it's kind of close.
Yeah.
I normally, if I have something at 10, try to be there at 9:50 or 9:55, even if it is 5 minutes away. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But she ran out at 9:40. She was driving her light blue or powder blue Jaguar sports car, a car she loved, and she was really careful with it and kept it in top condition. Before she drove off, Penny had told them she was running late. She grabbed her handbag. She also had wallpaper samples for her bedroom. Now, the reporting on this is also weird. Some really lean into the fact that they were in the back of her car. And while it's June, they point out that she had had the samples since April. And so knowing how she feels about her car and keeping it nice, it's just like a weird detail. Other reporting says that she took it with her. So that could be a clue to who she was meeting with.
Yeah.
If she didn't take it with her and it was just in the car, it could be completely unrelated.
Yeah. Hard to know there.
Exactly. To the people working on her home, which knew Penny well at this point. They'd been there, like I said, for over 6 months. Penny seemed completely normal. They noted that she seemed rushed. They felt like they didn't really ever see her running late or in a hurry. And this morning felt more. She hopped in the car, drove off. That would be the last time anyone who knew Penny saw her alive. In fact, to this day, nobody knows for certain who Penny was rushing to meet or why. She was known for keeping extremely detailed notes of all of her appointments. She was really busy. She was running a successful company. She was very successful in what she did. She wrote everything down. There's no mention in her day planner or anything of a 9:50 meeting. I saw mentions that there wasn't in her email as well.
Okay.
Which I didn't know email was around in 91, but it was. So they couldn't find it on the house calendar. They couldn't find any mention anywhere. Her husband later suggested that maybe it was a last-minute meeting she had arranged by phone that morning, but the construction workers and the builders didn't recall the phone ringing that morning.
Interesting.
And I'm not entirely sure if police were able to check her house phone records or what that looked like at the time. Shortly after Penny left home, there were multiple sightings of her car that police were able to track down that helped piece together her final movements. Around 9:50 a.m., a witness walking her dog in the area of Fulmer Common Road, which is near Black Park and not far from Penny's home, noticed her light blue Jaguar stopped on the roadside. The witness reported that he saw a man standing by a brown or bronze car nearby who got into the passenger seat of the blue Jaguar. The witness said that the woman driving the Jaguar looked like Penny Bell. According to the witness, the man who entered Penny's car was a white man, about 5'10" tall, roughly in his late 40s. Penny appeared to be picking this man up, suggesting that she did meet someone as planned at 9:50. Was this the 9:50 appointment she mentioned? We don't know, but it is a crucial piece of the puzzle that Penny likely had a passenger in her car really quick after leaving home.
Yeah.
If we fast forward to 10 a.m., several motorists later reported seeing a light blue Jaguar driving really slowly, like 10 miles an hour, and erratically along Greenford Road in West London, which was about 10 minutes away from where Penny lived. Around 10:20 a.m., they had reports that the Jaguar's hazard lights were flashing, and it was still moving about 10 miles an hour.
Interesting.
One witness reported much later that he had seen this car and it looked like a struggle inside the car. Their statement said that there was a woman driving, trying to pull over, while the man in the passenger seat seemed to be fighting with her and prevented her from stopping. The witness didn't know at the time what was happening in that car.
Yeah.
To police, he described the man in the passenger seat as about 40 years old with dark hair. He said possibly a beard, wearing a dark blazer, and specifically a bracelet on his right wrist. It was only later that he realized the woman driving was likely Penny Bell when he started seeing news reports. He told police that she was mouthing something to him. 6 months after what happened to Penny, the witness came forward and told police that as Penny's car passed by, he thought he saw her desperately mouthing the words, "Help me."
Oh,
so sad.
Sad.
He hadn't understood what was happening when he was seeing it.
Yeah.
So he hadn't acted or called, but he said it haunted him in the moment a bit, just the curiosity of what is happening.
Yeah.
And then when he heard about what happened to Penny, he said it just haunted him.
Oh, for sure.
Can you imagine?
No.
I feel like if I saw that now, like at least now we have the cell phone and you could call and report it right away.
Yeah, it's harder.
I don't know how you intervene when you're driving and you're seeing this happen.
Yeah.
But
it's really hard if that is what she was mouthing to him and they were fighting apparently in the front seat too.
Yeah.
That would be awful to hold on to that for 6 months or however. I mean, forever.
I'm curious. Yes, I am curious why it took so long. And maybe you assume there are tons of other reports, so yours isn't important.
Or maybe he felt bad. Maybe he felt guilty that he didn't intervene.
Yeah.
Because then she was fatally attacked.
Right.
I could see that.
Yeah.
It's that guilt if you don't really have more information to provide, I guess.
Right. I will say, if you think your tip isn't helpful,
it is.
Yeah. Just get it in there anyways.
Yeah.
Just in case. Penny's car with a passenger in the front seat was next seen turning into the parking lot of the Gurnall Leisure Center, which is the thing we talked about at the beginning, like a YMCA for us here in the States, in Greenford, West London. The area where those earlier drivers had noticed the slow Jaguar was also in that general area. It's believed that Penny pulled into the leisure center parking lot around 10:30 a.m. Police believe that's when the attack took place. We don't know what exactly happened in those final moments, but the Jaguar stopped in a parking spot near this high hedge towards the edge of the lot. Sometime around 10:30, maybe slightly after, in the front seat of her own car, Penny Bell was brutally stabbed to death. It is believed that she was stabbed with this person in the front seat stabbing her in the car. And then whoever did this, they got out, went around to the driver's side and stabbed her through the window before leaving.
Wow.
I feel like if you're in the car with someone, 50 times stabbing them,
yeah,
you would have blood all over you, right?
Yeah.
How do you not?
And then you just walk away?
Right.
Yeah, you would definitely be covered in blood.
Yeah, we'll come back to that, but it is truly horrific.
Yeah.
Despite what was happening in the car, no one in this busy complex noticed at first. The parking lot was large. It had 153 spaces, and it was almost completely full that morning.
Really?
Yeah, that's a lot of people coming in and out.
Yeah.
Around 11 a.m., two women were walking through the parking lot, and they saw Penny's Jaguar parked by the hedge. They saw a woman slumped over the steering wheel, and they assumed she was maybe just sleeping or not feeling well.
Oh.
Perhaps maybe she was waiting for someone and was just resting her head on the steering wheel while she was waiting.
Yeah. I mean, we were at a place when we went up to Oregon, really busy. The guy next to us was passed out asleep in the front seat. He was asleep. His family came. He woke up. He drove away. He was okay. But I mean, you could think that because I'm sure he didn't want to go into this busy place if his family just ran in to get some samples or something and then came back out, or whatever they went in there for.
We've had cheer comps. We have to be there at 7 a.m. So we've been up since 4:30 because it's not close. We have to get the full ready, whatever. And then we can't even go inside the building that the comp is at until 9, but we can't drive home. There's not enough time.
Yeah.
And, usually I'll sit in there and talk to other parents or sit, outside.
Mm-hmm.
But I know Brandon's gone and either watched a show in the car or maybe taken a nap.
Yeah, I could definitely
because
see
you've
that.
got hours.
Yes.
Right?
Well, that was this guy. He was totally asleep, mouth open.
Oh my goodness.
And like I said, I know he was okay, but I could see how someone would think, oh, maybe she's resting. Maybe she didn't want to go in if she wasn't feeling good.
Right.
Whatever type of things that they have in that center.
Totally. You could even think maybe somebody came here to exercise with their spouse and maybe she's pregnant and got morning sickness. So she's waiting. He went in.
Yeah.
She's just
waiting.
Yeah.
I can see that.
Yeah. So they walked by. That was around 11. The car gave no obvious signs of alarm. They said from the outside, especially with tinted windows and also sun bouncing off some of it, making a glare, it just wasn't apparent that anything was wrong inside.
Oh, so awful.
It was noted that the Jaguar was almost completely soundproof with the windows closed. It was a nice car. Mm-hmm. That was one of the features of this car, which could explain why there were no screams or anything heard during the attack.
Well, and that too, I mean, how many times do you pull up to the gym and the parking lot's full?
Mm-hmm.
And I sit there for a minute playing on my phone or getting my music set up.
Right.
And then leave and go inside and still don't pass anybody.
Right.
Just depending on who's coming and going, especially if they were further back.
Mm-hmm.
There might not have been anyone in the immediate area.
Maybe the people in there are in a class that doesn't get out at that time.
Yeah.
And also, Penny's car was right up against this tall hedge that did kind of conceal it from view on one side.
Yeah.
It wasn't until those two women returned to the parking lot after 12 p.m., so it was over an hour later, they realized that something was wrong. They noticed this car was still there. The woman was in the exact same position as when they went in. They looked a little bit closer and they were able to see bloodstains inside the vehicle. Panicking, they called the police. The call came in around 12:15 p.m.
I'm glad that they checked on her again when they noticed.
Me too.
They checked closer.
Yep. And I completely understand the first time, but thank goodness they were observant enough when they came back out.
It's probably good that she had that nicer car. That's probably why they noticed it.
Right. And
if it had been a black sedan that everyone else has, they might not have noticed it was the same car.
Totally. And if, some of those front tint windows or the side, however they were able to see in, if that was darker, they might not have even noticed someone was in there the first time.
Yeah.
When officers got to the scene, they described it as incredibly shocking and horrifically sad. Penny was in the driver's side of the Jaguar, collapsed against the steering wheel, and she had no pulse. She had been stabbed more than 50 times in the chest and arms. Investigators described it as a frenzied attack and ferocious. The wounds to Penny's arms indicated that she had desperately tried to defend herself. They found many defensive wounds, looking like she had fought back, also raising her arms to ward off knife blows. We also usually see the cut in between fingers where they try to reach for the knife. We saw that like in the Idaho 4 murders.
Yeah.
The murder weapon was a knife estimated to have a 3 to 4 inch blade. Blood was everywhere inside the car, showing how violent that struggle was. Detectives at the scene noted a few important clues. Penny's handbag was sitting in the car, open but untouched. All her cash and belongings were inside. This immediately told police that robbery was not the motive. Nothing was stolen.
Except for maybe the money.
Right. On first glance, I'm sure they didn't know about the money in general.
Yes, for sure.
Her basic cash in her wallet was still intact. They also noted no evidence of a sexual assault or anything. The police immediately were certain that it was not a random mugging or carjacking gone wrong. They thought it looked personal. The sheer rage that they found evident in the attack, over 50 stab wounds. They felt that the killer's motive was personal hatred or passion, which are very strong words, but also a horrific attack.
Yeah.
One detective noted that it didn't seem like the work of a stranger looking for money. It seemed like the work of someone who wanted Penny dead. They also noted the wallpaper samples that we briefly mentioned. And again, the reporting is both ways. Either had been in her car for a while or she had specifically brought those along to whatever appointment she had at 9:50 that morning. They were found spread out on the car's center console, and they also found them on the front seat, which is interesting because we know someone else was sitting there.
Yeah.
It looked to investigators like she'd been showing them actively to somebody right when she was attacked, or possibly maybe when they started getting her to drive somewhere she didn't want to go or whatever was happening with the driving. They also thought, instead of meeting with a home professional, it was possible she was meeting with someone to get opinions on the home decor plans, which vastly opens up the pool of potential suspects, I suppose. They felt that Penny initially felt comfortable enough with whoever was in her car to discuss something like the wallpaper for her bedroom. The fact that the samples were laid out when the struggle began felt haunting. It shows how quickly this normal moment turned into violence. London's Metropolitan Police launched a massive investigation into Penny's murder. From the start, they were baffled by how the killer managed to escape without anyone noticing. So consider the scene. We have this busy leisure center. It's broad daylight. At least 300 people in or around the facility that morning. And like we said, the killer would have been absolutely covered in blood.
Yeah.
After stabbing Penny so many times at such close range. How could such a person just walk away calmly or even run away without drawing attention.
And how far away was the leisure center from where it was reported she picked that guy up?
I believe they said about 10 miles or less.
Okay.
It might have just been a 10-minute drive.
Okay.
Depending on who's reporting.
Yeah.
Which is...
That would be far to go back to his car.
Exactly. So did somebody pick him up there?
Yeah.
How did he get wherever he was going?
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. Penny's daughter, Lauren, later expressed disbelief. She said, "How could you just exit a car and walk away? It's impossible."
Yeah. Were there any reports of stolen cars in that parking lot?
Not that I could find. The theory is that he had to have had another car and somebody waiting for him.
Hmm.
Or possibly he parked a car there, maybe took a taxi to wherever she picked him up.
Yeah.
The brown or bronze car that he was standing by didn't necessarily have to be his.
Yeah.
That first witness reported.
That's true.
Could have just had his actual car waiting, knowing where he was going to make her drive to. He could have parked right next to it.
Yeah.
Which is so scary because then it's very planned out.
Yes.
Yeah. Police right away canvassed for witnesses. Despite the busy surroundings, no one reported seeing a bloody man around the car park at that time. And I think it's funny they say at that time. Like, did you notice before or after? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A woman named Patricia came forward to give a report of something odd. Around 10:30 a.m., she saw a car racing out of the parking lot, driving erratically. The speeding car followed closely behind her and then overtook her at a high speed before disappearing. Unfortunately, she wasn't able to get the license plate or a really detailed look at the driver, and it's not confirmed that this car was connected, but the timing and the fact that it was coming right out of that parking lot make it a strong possibility that is the
suspicious
killer fleeing the scene. Investigators also received the reports from earlier that morning about Penny's Jaguar being seen with a male passenger. They actually found multiple witnesses that confirmed seeing a light blue Jaguar driving strangely in the area that matched Penny's car. One report that we mentioned described the woman in distress at the wheel with the man in the passenger seat and the woman mouthing, "Help me," indicating that Penny knew she was in danger. So to me, that and the wallpaper samples can't both be true, right? So either she was not showing wallpaper samples because she was already in danger and knew she needed to get out of that situation.
Yeah.
Or it wasn't her and maybe there's something else that happened that day, but I can't imagine two
light blue Jaguars.
Exactly.
The thing I was thinking about, maybe she was meeting someone, like you said, for like an opinion. Maybe she'd hired someone to help her make some decisions, and maybe it wasn't someone that she necessarily knew.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's why she was getting money out to pay them if they were charging an exorbitant amount.
True.
Like interior design consulting or something.
Right.
And that's why she was taking that with her and showing them, but really they were scamming her.
Yeah.
And they were taking her money and attacking her, but she had started out that way, possibly.
And, with the money, aside from it being 3 days before this happened and completely out of the norm for her, they don't know. She could have given it to someone on the 3rd.
Yeah.
When she took it out. They don't necessarily know when it was out of her possession.
And her husband didn't know anything about it.
Mm-mm.
That's a lot of money to pay for things, unless it's something with...
I do believe that she was more the breadwinner in the family. So I don't know if she handled the finances or he didn't look at it on a daily basis.
Or if she was in charge of the renovation, if that was her thing and she was paying someone for something with that.
Or even saying, I'm paying multiple vendors with this type of thing. Yeah.
But that was kind of my theory with
the money. Yeah. And it could be. And all of these things could totally be wrapped up in a whole separate theory. that's, like you said, the hard thing with
Yeah.
the unsolved cases.
If someone was preying on her because they knew she's wealthy, they knew she's doing renovation on her house.
Totally.
Could have been a whole scam thing.
And where it's been going on for 6 months, a lot of people, I'm sure, knew that she was doing that. And when you hear about a renovation going on that long, it's got to be major.
Yeah.
So, like you said, with the money, you're thinking, okay, they probably have some money.
Yeah.
And it's also possible she was supposed to take out more money if someone was blackmailing her, say. And she didn't because she was hoping, I don't know.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And you said that she had a relationship prior?
I know her son was from a previous relationship. We'll also talk more about her husband's previous relationship later on. Investigators found absolutely no connection between either of those people in their lives and this.
Okay.
But that's a good thought, too. Another set of sightings that police found placed Penny's car and a woman matching her description back in Fulmer Common Road, which was the area near her home the same morning. Those likely correspond with the 950 witness that saw her pick up the man by Black Park. So that helped them piece together their general timeline. They know Penny left home at 9:40. Around 9:50, she picked someone up. By 10:20, 10:30, she's in West London in danger. And around 10:30 is when the attack took place. One more bizarre clue emerged much later. In 2019, so 28 years after the murder, a new witness came forward with a recollection. This person,
a long time.
It's a long time. Yeah. They told police that on the day Penny was killed, they saw a man walking on a footbridge over the A40, which is a major road near Greenford. This person caught the witness's attention. The man was only wearing underwear and appeared wet, as if he had just taken a shower, perhaps, or gone swimming, I guess.
Cleaned off some blood?
Yep, or cleaned off some blood. The witness said that he was walking away from the direction of the leisure center. It was an odd sight for midday. The witness thought it was strange enough to remember it years later.
A long time later.
A long time later. They wondered if the killer, who perhaps could have cleaned up in a public restroom or some kind of park bathroom, maybe not like in the leisure center, of course, but something lesser known, or maybe had a bag with him. As soon as he finished attacking Penny, put on other clothes, went inside, took a shower, managed to go a little bit undetected. But then being that dripping wet, I don't know.
Was there like a pond or lake or anything around there he could have dumped his clothes and
found? And I don't believe police have ever found bloody clothes related, or unrelated, but in the area that they thought they could test,
Yeah. I wonder if he dumped them in a lake though and washed off in the lake, if they would find that.
True. I feel like this detail that came out only raised more questions and didn't really provide any answers, but it is interesting. And I also am not sure why it wasn't reported before 2019.
Yeah.
They brought in forensics to the scene who did what they could. And the case was revisited years later as DNA analysis and forensic technology improved. There were some bloodstains that investigators hoped would contain the killer's DNA. In 2003, samples were tested with more modern forensic techniques than they'd had in 91. And again, in 2008, police interviewed more people that they thought they could maybe get DNA from to test against different samples they had from the crime scene. So far, they have not found anything from any of the DNA found in the car or at the scene. And I'm not entirely sure because this is still an open case. Granted, probably technically considered a cold case. They still wouldn't release everything they had or knew.
Yeah. So they it appears they have the killer's DNA too from blood.
It's possible. Police thought they did.
Okay.
And they've been trying to test it since 2003. So I don't know if it's come up with partial profiles, full profiles, or if everything they've tested has only matched to Penny, or if they have a full DNA profile, but they've never been able to find a match. I'm not sure where we fall on that spectrum of possibility, just because we know there are things they haven't released.
Yeah.
But nothing's ever been announced. In the year following Penny's murder, police interviewed a huge number of people, over 4,000 people in the year. So from June 91 to May of 92.
Wow.
It was one of the most exhaustive manhunts of the time. The public was also asked for help via media appeals. Penny's husband, Alistair, along with her business partner, offered a reward of £20,000. So we're looking $75,000 to $80,000 in hopes of getting information. Despite the reward, the 4,000 interviews, concrete leads were few and far between. Investigators just couldn't find anyone with a motive to harm Penny. They didn't have a good direction to even go. It just felt like this wide, like anybody could have done this. One contemporary news report said she had no known enemies, and everyone felt like she was a completely unlikely victim for a crime like this. It made no sense to anyone that knew her. Early on, detectives theorized that Penny knew her killer. Like it wasn't a first-time meeting for somebody. Like we said, it seemed like a personal attack without the motive of robbery. I mean, you could say the money envelope, but then they would have had to know about it.
Yeah.
And if it was robbery, they would have taken her jewelry. They would have taken the other cash in her purse or her wallet, cards, checkbook, something.
Yeah. Unless it was a scam or blackmail type thing for that money, then they knew she had it.
Right. Investigators looked at Penny's immediate family first. Her husband, unfortunately, was scrutinized, which is standard. We need to look at the people closest to the victim.
Mm-hmm.
There were a couple of reasons that they thought about him as a potential suspect. He was the sole inheritor on her estate, and she was worth a good amount of money. He also was the beneficiary on a £200,000 life insurance payout after her death. Financial gain is common as a motive in especially spouse murders. Also, if Penny had been having any personal troubles, like perhaps an affair, which to be clear, there's no evidence that she was having an affair or that her husband was, police theorized that a jealous spouse could potentially be the suspect. They could not find any evidence that pointed to him being involved. He did have a solid, verified alibi. He was at work that whole morning.
Yeah.
Colleagues were able to account for his time there. By all accounts, the marriage was stable and loving. Investigators did not find any hint of domestic rift between the two, especially anything strong enough to have him murder his wife. He was eventually cleared of suspicion formally. That said, a twist in the investigation did involve her husband. During background checks, police learned that before marrying Penny, her husband had been in a long-term relationship with a man for 11 years. This fact was not a secret. Everybody knew. He had been open about his bisexual preference. And in fact, his former partner had even been in attendance at Penny and Alistair's wedding.
Oh.
So it was not something that was new to family or friends.
Yeah, it wasn't some surprise.
Police had asked Alistair if they could put this information out there. And I'm not exactly sure why they felt it was relevant, but it was a bad move. When tabloids got a hold of this information, they completely manipulated, sensationalized it, ran with it with really trashy tabloid headlines. Unfortunately, it ended up being really detrimental to the tips that they received on the case. So prior to putting out that information, the police tip line had been receiving hundreds of calls. It was nonstop. When those headlines and tabloid stories were made public, the tip line was silent.
Really?
Yeah. It did not go over well. And I can't even figure out why they thought they should put that out there.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, they had a reason. It doesn't make sense to me.
And it wasn't like they were saying, look for this man. He's our suspect.
No, exactly.
Like
it doesn't seem relevant.
Yeah. And it's not new. It's not a surprise to the family.
No. Penny knew about it.
Yeah.
Exactly. And Penny and Alistair had been in a relationship for years.
Yeah.
They've been married for years. It wasn't part of it, but also it's really sad that people took that as a reason to stop trying to help solve this murder.
Yeah, absolutely.
Some of the headlines insinuated that it was this giant scandal. One paper implied that he might have been having this secret affair on the side, and whoever he was having an affair with killed Penny in a jealous rage. According to Penny's daughter, Lauren, once this angle hit the news, it changed everything, not just the tip line, but Alistair. He was withdrawn. He was depressed. It really hit him hard, and it was really hard for the kids as well.
Yeah.
Which is heartbreaking. Lauren said that people jumped to the conclusion that the murder had to be related to her dad's past, quote, a crime of passion, and it just caused the public at that time in the early 90s to lose interest. And basically, a lot of people assumed the case was solved. Those headlines were saying, jealous lover killed Penny, and it made it seem like they knew who had done it. So people thought their tips were not important anymore.
Oh, that's really terrible.
It is. And to be very clear, that had absolutely nothing to do with this case that police could ever find. Also, Alistair's former partner and also, like I said, Penny's, they were interviewed and completely cleared by police. No evidence to link either one. It almost was this red herring fueled by prejudice that really diverted attention from other leads that they should have been following right away.
Oh, that's terrible.
Yes. The most dramatic twist in the case came a year later. In 1992, a man named John Richmond, who was an old family friend of the Bell family, suddenly stepped into the spotlight. In April 1992, John Richmond approached a tabloid newspaper, which was reportedly The Sun, with a sensational claim. He said he knew who killed Penny, and he implied that he was even with her on the morning of the murder. He said, for the small price of £80,000, which again is a whole lot of money in today's money, and even back then, he offered to sell his story, revealing the killer's identity.
Okay.
He told the paper this elaborate tale. He claimed that he and Penny had been having a secret affair, and that on the morning of June 6th, 1991, they met up, which, if true, and I think this is why he brought that in, it could match Penny's mysterious appointment. According to him, Penny had asked him to help hire a hitman, an assassin for some purpose. He said he put her in contact with someone willing to do a knife attack. Then he alleged that Penny's murder was actually a contract killing carried out by this hitman, and that he, Richmond, knew who this hired killer was. He maintained very emphatically that he did not kill Penny, but he implied that he was unwittingly caught up in a plot that led to her death. I would like to know, sir, why you know so many hitmen.
Yes.
Just asking.
Yes. And why you're bringing this up almost a year later for a pretty price.
Yes.
Instead of trying to help your
family friend.
Family
yes,
friend.
Exactly.
Yes. Let's make money off of this instead. That seems pretty sketchy.
It does. The Sun thought So, too, they turned that right over to the police, who arrested John Richmond in an attempt to investigate his claims. On the surface, some of it sounded plausible. His fingerprints were found inside Penny's Jaguar. However, Richmond was a really good friend of Penny and Alistair. The presence of his prints wasn't a smoking gun. He had been in the car in the past socially multiple times, so it was easily explained. Detectives dug into his story and found no evidence of an affair between him and Penny, and no evidence that Penny was trying to hire a hitman. His behavior, selling his story for cash, cast doubt on his credibility, of course.
Absolutely.
After keeping him on bail for a few months, the authorities decided there was insufficient evidence to charge him. By July 1992, Richmond was released and described as, quote, completely in the clear. They backed off of Richmond, essentially saying he's full of it. Richmond popped up again in 1994 with yet another wild story.
A new wild story?
A new wild story.
For how much this time?
Well, he claimed that he had been paid £30,000 by this mastermind behind Penny's murder to keep quiet, and that Penny had been killed by an assassin. He insinuated he knew the real killer's identity because he was asked to recommend the hitman, which relates back to his first story. The new version still didn't hold water. It seemed to shift blame without adding any new details, evidence, proof, anything.
And his long list of assassin friends.
Yes, and please show me that £30,000 deposit, right?
Yeah. Where are you hiding that?
Right?
Under his pillow.
Yeah, probably.
Behind his toilet.
Oh, yes. In the toilet bowl.
In the toilet bowl.
Police interviewed him again because of these statements, but they found nothing concrete. To this day, many who followed the case suspect Richmond was fabricating these stories for attention and hoping to sell interviews or side stories to different outlets, news outlets, etc.
To profit off of Penny's terrible murder.
Some people are really disgusting.
Yeah, sounds like a great friend.
Yeah. Investigators have never officially named him as the killer, but he still stays on this peripheral person of interest because he keeps inserting himself.
Yeah.
It feels like a frustrating dead end, though. This person who might have a kernel of truth in their story, but they wrap it in so many lies and inconsistencies that really it's impossible to pin down the truth versus everything else.
Yeah. His money-making story.
Yeah. Police had to move out from those close to Penny after ruling out so many people that they interviewed in the beginning. They examined a few other angles, like a former client or a stalker. Penny had worked in an employment agency. She also volunteered as a Samaritan, which is a suicide hotline counselor. She had done that up until the early 1980s, so quite a ways back, but investigators wondered if perhaps someone she encountered through her work or her charities had developed some kind of obsession with her, or perhaps a grudge.
Yeah.
They looked into clients she had placed in jobs, people she had counseled, but this line of inquiry did not, quote, identify any further suspects. They, of course, had to consider that it was a random killer.
Yeah.
It was very far from what they thought could have happened, but they're not finding anything else.
Yeah.
The sheer brazenness of the daylight attack had some thinking that it could be the work of a psychopath who attacked at random. There was one very specific name floated, Robert Napper. He was a convicted murderer who was known for brutally stabbing victims. He was actually responsible for the infamous 1992 killing of Rachel Nichol on Wimbledon Common. And I believe in that murder, a woman was out walking with her, I want to say 2-year-old son.
Ugh.
And he attacked her in broad daylight right in front of her son.
Oh, gosh.
And she was killed, which is horrific.
That is terrible.
They knew that Napper would have been active around the time of Penny's murder. And he somewhat fit the profile of someone who could commit that kind of attack on a stranger. Police interviewed him in 2008, and I'm not entirely sure why it was so much later, but they did interview him looking for any link to Penny's case, and they couldn't find any evidence to tie him. They did end up ruling him out. Penny's murder occurred just 3 days after another high-profile unsolved stabbing of a woman in London, a woman named Allison, which was also horrific. Some wondered if a serial attacker was targeting women, but no definitive link could be established between the two. The consensus in the end was that they really just don't think Penny's murder was by a random attack or a stranger. It was so vicious and risky that they're certain it was personal. Penny's daughter, Lauren, has often voiced her belief that perhaps someone was infatuated with Penny, someone Penny didn't want a relationship with. That's who she believes could be responsible. She says Penny was attractive, outgoing, successful. It's not impossible that she had an admirer or an acquaintance who became dangerously fixated on her. This lines up with the crime of passion that we mentioned, and also the quote from detectives that someone who wanted her but couldn't have her.
Yeah. I keep thinking back to the renovation.
Yeah.
And all the people there.
It could have been somebody working on the house in the first 2 months.
Yes. That's what I was thinking. If they were watching her, they knew what she was doing. They had become infatuated with her, being in her house all the time, working with her, working on her house while she was there.
Yeah.
No.
Very
I feel like
possible.
it has to be somewhat connected. I don't know.
I agree. I think that one or a client, somebody that she had worked with maybe several times, maybe a year or two before.
Yeah.
Despite interviewing over 4,000 people and beyond the 4,000 just in the first 11 months, despite the clues, the forensics, saving as much evidence as possible, Penny's case to this day is still unsolved and is one of Britain's most notorious cold cases. Over the decades, interest in the case would flare up when it was in the news or on an anniversary, but they've never gotten any better information, tips, leads, anything.
Yeah.
One really sad aspect of this case for Penny's family, the nightmare didn't end with her death. It was only the beginning of a new painful chapter. Penny's children lost their mother in the most traumatic way. Lauren was just 9 at the time. She has spoken in interviews about how profoundly impactful it was on their lives. She said, quote, "People refer to my mother's murder as a cold case, but if it's cold, it's freezing cold." Growing up, Lauren had almost no memories of her mom, which she herself describes as heartbreaking.
That is heartbreaking.
She said, "I have no memories of my mom whatsoever. I'd feel sad, but I just had no memories to draw upon." As a little girl,
terrible.
I know it makes my heart hurt for her.
Yes.
As a little girl, she couldn't fully process what had happened. As she got older, the absence of answers made it really difficult to heal. Every few months, Lauren would get an update from the police. She says a team called, quote, Murder Command would email her periodically, but progress was just glacially slow.
Yeah.
Every time a new murder happened in London, Penny's case would get pushed down the priority list due to the age of it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, not only did Lauren and Matthew lose their mother, but the family itself fell apart in the aftermath. Lauren says, "From the moment my mother died, everything died. Instead of the tragedy bringing the three of them closer, the stress and the grief shattered them." Lauren revealed that she no longer has a relationship with her father at all. In fact, about 10 years after Penny died, when Lauren was 19, Alistair asked her to leave the family home and not come back.
Oh, that's really sad.
Effectively cutting their relationship. Lauren said, "He told me he couldn't do love anymore. He even said that he, quote, wished he'd never met my mother because he wouldn't be in this situation." Those
heartbreaking.
Yeah, those words wounded her deeply. Lauren says she feels more scarred about the breakdown of my relationship with my father than I do about my mom dying, because her mother had no choice in the matter, whereas her father chose to push her away. Lauren's brother, Matthew, had gone off to boarding school years earlier and also became really distant. Eventually, both children became estranged from their father. Alistair, as of the latest reports, lives reclusively in the same house in Buckinghamshire, the house that was meant to be their dream home. Lauren describes it, sadly, as overgrown and isolated, saying her father doesn't really speak to anyone anymore, and the murder truly tore their family apart.
That's awful.
Lauren, though, is an incredible person. She's an incredible human. She's shown remarkable resilience. She took it on herself to go to therapy and has worked hard to not let the tragedy define her entire life. Now, as an adult, Lauren has a child of her own, a daughter, whom she named Penny. Lauren says that becoming a mother made her appreciate life in a new way and also to honor her mom's love of life. She says, quote, "The one thing I know about my mother is that she loved life. So I try to live my life by that way of thinking." The pain of not having answers lingers. Lauren fears that one day she may have to tell her daughter that sometimes in life terrible things happen and we never know why, which she says is very painful.
Yeah.
She works hard to do interviews to keep her mom's case on police radar, in the public radar, to appeal for tips. As the 30th anniversary of Penny's murder approached, which was in 2021, Lauren decided to renew the public attention. She announced a new £20,000 reward for information leading to the killer, hoping that time might loosen someone's tongue or cause somebody to share a tip that they thought might not have been needed at the time, especially with what happened with the tabloids.
Especially the tip that came out in 2019. Maybe She was hoping there was more
Agreed.
out there.
Lauren started an Instagram account dedicated to sharing information and hoping to keep the case in the public eye. On March 10th, 2021, Penny's case was featured on BBC's Crime Watch Live, which is a program that highlights cold cases and also appeals to their audience for tips. Lauren has spoken to various media outlets. She did an interview with Sky News Daily's podcast, where she pleaded for anyone with knowledge to come forward. In that, she said, quote, "I would ask anybody to just help us in this situation, because not only does it release us from this sort of vortex of frustration and soul-destroying pain, it also takes one very bad person off the streets. In other words, solving the case isn't just about closure for Penny's family. It's about public safety and also justice for Penny."
Yeah.
If the murderer is still alive, that person has literally gotten away with murder, and who knows if they've harmed others in the years since. The killer, if still living, would likely be in their 70s or older. Lauren mused that perhaps someone so late in life might be feeling the weight of their conscience, maybe ready to confess, or maybe someone who knows the secret, if there was indeed a getaway driver, might finally decide to speak up. Maybe people will revisit certain things or feel like this is the time to come forward and say something, she said in that interview. Lauren, though, while hopeful, acknowledges the possibility that the truth could potentially remain elusive.
Unfortunately.
Right. Now that it's been over 30 years.
Yeah.
I mean, we're coming up on 35 next June.
Yeah.
She said, "It's very likely that I will see out my old age and have to see my daughter grow up and explain that I have no answers. The case is still technically open. The Metropolitan Police's cold case unit does periodically review the evidence, and any new tip or piece of forensic evidence could potentially break it open. The Bell family and friends hold on to the hope that justice delayed will not be justice denied." The key to solving this case could be out there. Maybe you were in London at that time. Maybe your parents were. Maybe you had friends traveling. Talk to friends that you know that could potentially know something, because they might know somebody who knows something.
Yeah. They need to get a Cece Moore over there.
I know. Yes.
Especially if they do have DNA.
Agreed. If they have DNA, I really hope that we're to the point where our technology can give us some kind of answer, right?
Some kind of profile, one of those
that we could do genealogy testing on.
Yes, if they could, because some of the pictures that they created off the profiles were pretty similar.
Yeah, that's true too.
Make some kind of picture.
Yeah. I wonder if they have gotten a full DNA profile off of any of it. I couldn't find that. So whether they have not or they're not sharing, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But I would love to see them do that type of testing.
Yeah. Especially after all this time, if they do have something.
Yeah.
I don't know. Interesting to see it.
Agreed. Well, if you have any information at all about the murder of Penny Bell, no matter how small or seemingly insignificant, please consider contacting those working on her case. Even after all these years, your information could be the missing piece of the puzzle that finally brings a killer to justice and peace to Penny's family. And again, like I said, if you know somebody who was there at the time, maybe you've never been, but you know someone who was, tell them about this case. Send them this episode, send them any of the resources. Like I said, we'll list that in the show notes. Anything. You can contact the Metropolitan Police, specifically the cold case team handling Penny's murder at 0208 785 8267. If you want to remain anonymous, you can reach out to Crime Stoppers in the UK at 0800 555 111. Penny's daughter has said that finding out who did this would, quote, release the family from that vortex of frustration and soul-destroying pain, which we said before, but that quote just hit me hard. The vortex of frustration.
Yeah, I can't imagine going this long.
I can't either.
And never having an answer.
I know. And I don't feel like I have enough information, even after reading everything I could find, to even have a good theory. Like, I do agree that it has to be someone she knows.
Yeah.
I don't think the timeline matches with a stranger.
Yeah. Well, especially if she says she had an appointment. It feels like it had to be whoever she was meeting. And it's so unfortunate that there wasn't more information about who she was meeting.
Yep, 100%.
And that's a good reminder if you are meeting with people for your job or whatever you're doing, to let people know who you're meeting and where, and
absolutely
all that information. We talked about that with some of the other cases.
Yeah, like with Beverly Carter.
Yeah.
That is such a good point that I didn't even have in my notes. If you're meeting, especially with someone new, that records help.
Yeah.
If, God forbid anything happened.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you again for listening. Do you have anything else?
Nope, just all the questions in my mind.
Yep, I'm very sorry about that. I know.
Awful.
This one has been one I've been thinking about for weeks.
Yeah.
For longer than that, but I started researching it a month or so ago for this episode, and I just cannot stop thinking about it.
Yeah. So many questions.
Can't believe that. I mean, there had to be killer DNA in there.
Yeah.
Her car was so specific. I do tend to believe a lot of those eyewitness reports, even though I don't necessarily put stock into some of the details, but it does sound like it had to be in that parking lot at 10:30.
Yeah.
So,
and with all the defensive wounds, you would think that there's got to be something.
Agreed.
To link them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know. It's very interesting and sad.
It is. It's really sad. If you have any information, we will put those 2 numbers that we read off in the show notes as well and on our blog. Thank you so much for listening to this episode on Penny Bell. If you found it interesting, if you can think of anybody that might have any sort of memory or had been in the area, spread the word. Send them the episode. We're on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, iHeart, Audible, all major streaming platforms.
And all the little ones.
Yes.
We didn't know about.
Yes. I know I got them. I got like Guru and Podchaser to
Podbean.
Yeah, there's
a lot
podcasts on there, and I really like a lot of them. So I found new ones to listen to that way.
Yeah.
If you have any questions on this case, want to learn more about it, want to read the resources that we used, you can go to our blog, crimeclueless.com, click on blog, and it will be up there. Also, like we mentioned at the beginning, if you've never given us a rating, please take a second.
Would appreciate it.
Give us a rating. We would be so grateful. It really does help, which I did not know until I had a podcast.
Yeah.
And now I have gone through and rated every podcast I love and left reviews because I see how much it does help and it means to the creator.
Yeah.
So, and as always, remember, refuse to be clueless, careless, or caught off guard.
Not today, murderers.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, everybody.